Hello, everyone. I want to talk to you today about a subject that causes challenges for a lot of people, and that is the subject of exercise. Now, most of us, if we're past a certain age, have been told by our medical practitioner that we should be incorporating some movement into our days. And generally, as adults, when we think about movement or we think about exercise, our mind goes straight to the idea of, oh man, I have to join another gym, or I need to join this fitness class and start running on treadmills and lifting weights. And that's generally, as adults, that's where our mind goes. And if you're anything like me, you can make that work for about a month, and then inevitably you fall off the wagon, and then you find yourself donating to a specific gym for a year and a half and you've never been in the door. And so I want to talk to you today about a few options or a few ways to approach the idea of movement that don't involve going directly to the idea of using a gym. Now you might say, well, Lisa, that sounds interesting, but why do you look like you just got out of the shower? And that's because I just got back actually from my own workout, and I wanted to film this video today using some of my own personal examples, and as well as some of the more professional recommendations I may use, because like I said, I am the kind of person that exercise is not high on my priority list, and it took me a long time to figure out how to incorporate it in a way that actually works for me. So I'm sure that your doctor has told you, or your other medical practitioner, why exercise is good for your body. But as a psychologist, I want to talk a little bit as to why it's good for your brain, or for your mind, so to speak. So there are certain emotions that as psychologists we label energy-producing emotions. And those are emotions like anger or anxiety that when they occur, they are accompanied with a burst of energy or a desire to move. If you struggle with anxiety or even with anger, doing some things to get that urge to move out of your body can help you to calm down and to settle. So for example, taking a quick walk around the block if you're feeling really angry at someone will help you calm down and kind of get your mind to a calmer place. If you're someone who struggles with ADHD, incorporating movement into your days or into your weeks can really help you focus a little bit more, can calm some of the symptoms that you're having. If you're someone who struggles with depression, being able to get up and do something movement related that causes an increase in your dopamine levels will help you start to feel better and will help the depression lift. So there's a lot of benefit psychologically to some kind of movement. Now, one of the things that I found I had to do was to recognize that, number one, I am never going to be someone who goes to the gym. And it took me probably longer than it should have to figure that out, because I was very much focused on, well, this is what adult exercise looks like. And I had to get out of the mindset that getting exercise had to mean doing something specifically for exercise. If you have a friend who really loves the gym and really goes all the time, when you ask them, why do you like going to the gym, they very rarely only will say it's for exercise. They'll say, well, they love it, or they like the feeling of accomplishment, or they really like how it's changing and shaping their body, or, there'll be something that is of value to them that going to the gym brings that is not going to be for everybody. If you've watched my videos in the past, you're going to remember that I often say human behavior originates from the need to satisfy something or to achieve a goal that we want. And for some of us, exercise on the day-to-day, the achievements that would come from going to the gym are not motivational enough to get us to go. So if you are someone who's able to look back at your track record with gyms over the years and say, okay, yeah, you know what? Kind of in the same place you are. this is just not going to work. The gym is not going to work. There are different ways to approach the idea of exercise that will broaden out your options so that you're able to find something that is rewarding for you. So, for example, in order to increase the positive emotions and dopamine levels, we need to do some type of movement that increases our heart rate to sort of a medium fast rate for about half an hour. And for most of us, that's pretty doable if we can find something that brings us some enjoyment in the process. So the first thing I would recommend is sit down and think about activities that you enjoy or activities you've already wanted to try. Now, at this point, it doesn't matter if these activities are movement orientated or not. We're just looking at what kinds of things bring you joy. And you will find some patterns in there. You might find you're a very competitive person. And if that's the case, you're going to want to look for some type of movement that puts you in competition with another person. So perhaps you take up badminton, or maybe you join a community sports league just for amateurs who like to play, or maybe you take up a more individualized sport like, perhaps you play, let's say, tennis with people from a tennis club if you don't naturally have a partner. Because what's bringing you joy out of that experience is the competition. The exercise and the movement is just a byproduct of the competition. If you're someone who is a little more creative, a little more artistic, what are some of the things from your list that incorporate some movement? So perhaps, an adult dance class might be something you really enjoy, or perhaps you find a place to learn how to swing dance, even if you don't have a partner, because there are some places who do that. And then you're able to go to the swing dancing clubs in Edmonton and get some of your movement in. But it's something that you really enjoy or something that really feeds you. There may be some artistic endeavors that require a lot of movement and can increase a heart rate. So some type of creative things. You may decide that if you're someone who really likes water, if you are not someone who's going to lane swim, but maybe you really love water slides. If you think about the energy it takes to get up and down those water slides on a regular basis, that's going to get your heart rate up. If you're someone who likes perhaps wakeboarding or kite surfing or something along those lines, you're engaged in the activity, maybe you're still, but you still have to swim out there to where you want to do your activity. If you fall off your board, you still have to go through a lot of movement to get in or to get back up again and get balanced again. And so there's a lot of movement incorporated in that kind of activity, but what will draw you to it is your love of water, not your need to exercise. You might be somebody who would really enjoy some type of a martial art. I can tell you from experience that mixed martial arts has a lot of cardio in it because you're building endurance, but the point is you're learning how to defend yourself. You're not there just for exercise. Or perhaps you're the kind of person who likes more gentle, easy movement, and maybe you explore more patterned type activities like yoga or tai chi, something along those lines. And again, you're doing it because you enjoy the activity. You're not doing it because you want the exercise and this just sort of fits. Now, if you find yourself looking at the list and you're not really seeing much of a pattern, then you may be in a phase where you're going to want to explore a little bit more. So pick some things you can do with a friend that are just kind of samplers, like do a sampler dance class of some sort, or, go swimming or go to the pool and try out water polo, or go to a bowling league and see how it works. But it gives you the opportunity to just, try some things out and see what really fits for you. And again, you're looking for fun, you're looking for enjoyment, you're looking for that thing that this particular activity gives you that is important to you. Now, my disclaimer for all of this is that as a psychologist, my expertise is from the neck up, pretty much. So, I know a bit about nervous systems, but primarily I know emotions in the mind. So if you're considering experimenting with anything, please, please, please talk to a medical doctor if you have any physical concerns, if you have any health concerns, any worries about what you can and can't handle physically, because some of the suggestions in this video are not one size fits all. They're definitely things that you need to adapt to your own ability to move and to do things and your own strength. Now, some other things that people have found motivate them are the idea of perhaps helping other people. So they may find a volunteer position where they're helping clean. So for example, they might decide they're going to help the garbage cleanup around the city. That's a lot of walking, but it's also more of an altruistic activity. And if that's something that motivates you and kind of feeds your soul, then that's the area you may want to look at, because what's important to you is helping others. You might be someone who is more of a solitary individual. So maybe you like being alone, and there's no better place to be alone and quiet than a kayak out in a lake. And you have to get a lot of upper body movement in there to kayak out into the middle of a lake. But once you're there, you may find you sit and read a book or whatever it is, but you got your movement in. So those are a few suggestions of ways that you can be a little bit more creative. The other thing that I suggest is, no matter what new thing you're trying to incorporate into your life, start slow. So your life looks the way it does for a reason. And it's because this is what's working for you right now. It's not because you just woke up one day and said, this is kind of what I think my life should look like. If you're trying to add something new into your life, inevitably there's going to be a period where you have to rearrange things and move things around to make it happen. Now, that can be a challenge. And so if you suddenly decide, well, I'm going to work out 5 days a week at this time, you may find yourself overwhelmed because there's so many things that need to be moved. So pick a day, pick a time, once or twice a week, where you're going to start incorporating whatever type of movement you choose. And you may decide you're going to start for, if it makes sense, 15 minutes. Or maybe you pick something that the kids can also enjoy. So maybe you like trampolines and you take the kids to the trampoline park for half an hour after school every day. It can be added on and to the trip home from school, and it's not going to require you to make a huge adjustment. And your kids will be great motivators on the days you don't really feel like doing it. But you want to adapt slowly and build the habits slowly, not completely rearrange your life, because inevitably, and we know this from psychological studies, that is not going to work for you. The other thing I would suggest is consider whether you need to be doing something with another person, because you're the type of person that needs to know somebody's waiting for you before you will actually get out and do whatever the activity is. Or if you need to do your activities on your own, because some people need the accountability, and for other people, they need to work through and figure out how they're going to make things work by themselves. But I can tell you, with some thought and with some flexibility of our definition of movement versus exercise, that it is possible to get something into your day-to-day routine that will work for you. And I can tell you from personal experience that it is possible, but hopefully it doesn't take you as long as it took me to figure out what will work with you or for you, because I didn't have anybody to tell me to broaden my expectations and explore a little bit more and allow myself to be motivated by things that bring me joy and not by, I have to exercise. Because most of us, if, someone tells us we have to do something, our first response is, no, I don't. So have some fun with it. See what you come up with on your lists. If you're someone who does have something they do for exercise that's not the gym or not an exercise class per se, I'd love to hear about it down below. I'm sure people who are interested in finding some movement activities that are fun would also love your suggestions. There may be something someone does that hasn't even occurred to anyone. So I'd love to see what you guys have to say about the idea. And hopefully you'll be able to, gradually start adding in a little bit of that movement and start